Welcome to One More Hour, the podcast all about backyard ultras, timed races, and the ultra running mindset of going one more. If you're an ultra runner, a trail or ultra runner curious about the format, or just someone who loves to test your limits, you're in the right place. I'm Jackie Wilson, an ultramarathon and marathon run coach, trail runner, outdoor enthusiast, and backyard ultra expert. On this show, I'll bring you stories, strategies, and conversations with runners, race directors, experts, and more to help you go further, dig deeper, and keep going when everything in you says stop. Thank you so much for joining me for some yards. Let's get started with one more. What's it like to run with no set end time, no known finish time, no set distance? How do you keep going when you get bored? How can I get into ultras without a crew or supportive family or friends or anyone to help me out? How far can I actually run? What is a backyard ultra? Like, what the heck is that? How do I approach a backyard ultra different from a set distance ultra or a timed event? There are so many questions. Welcome to episode 1 of the One More Hour podcast, an insider's guide to backyard ultras specifically, also timed events, and the ultra mindset of one more. If you're a backyard ultra runner, a trail or ultra runner curious about the format, you just heard about a backyard ultra, your friend or family member ran one, and you're like, what the heck is that? You're a road runner who's curious about the ultra world, welcome. Or you're someone who just loves testing your limits, this podcast is for you. I'm Jackie Wilson. I'm an ultra running and marathon run coach. I'm a trail runner, an outdoor enthusiast, and a backyard ultra, hopefully, expert. I grew up in Minnesota playing soccer and basketball. I love doing anything and everything outdoors, camping, hiking, being at the lake, literally anything outside, basically. And I still love all things outdoors, but I've added running, I've added hunting, and being outside with my dogs and my husband. I have my master's in accounting. Didn't get into running until I finished up my master's and I was working full-time in public accounting, and I needed a stress outlet. I saw stress quickly in the half marathon and the marathon. I took my half marathon time from 2:29 to 1:24 in a short amount of time, and I ran my first marathon at 3:15. However, I didn't do much trail running other than the fact that we have a local trail race, which I absolutely love, and that was every June. And that's the extent of my trail running up until about 2 years ago. In 2019, 2020, 2021, I really pivoted in life. I went through a period of corporate burnout. I transitioned from public accounting to full-time run coaching, and I also had to stop running for about 14 months to heal my body from all the crap that went on with stress and the effect that had on my body. When I got back into running in June 2021, it was actually one of my first full runs back was our local trail run, Running Wild Trail Run. It's a 7K in our local state park. And my goal for that race was just to have fun and to run. I walked some of the huge hills because there are huge hills, but I really just needed to find a way to find joy in running again without comparing myself to my prior accomplishments. And also because I was a full-time run coach and still am, I needed to be okay with numbers and paces and removing the emotion from what I had previously done and being okay with seeing people running faster than I was, or running times that I had ran, and knowing that this is where I am right now, but really just focusing on, I need to figure out how to overcome performance-based perfectionism and find a joy from running. And I really felt trail running and ultras were the answer to overcoming performance-based perfectionism, but I felt held back because I don't live in the mountains. I don't live in Duluth, Minnesota with endless trails. I'm fortunate to have a short 3-mile and 2-mile trail section just south of my house. And we have 2 local state parks that are about 20 minutes and an hour away, but nothing to the extent of what I'm seeing all these other ultra runners and trail runners running. So that being said, in the spring of 2024 was when I was training for a marathon. Just a marathon. It was just marathon training. I didn't know what race I wanted to run, but I wanted to find one that was early enough in spring so that I wasn't impacted by the heat and humidity, which is hard to do up here in Minnesota, right? So I ended up signing up for a 50K in May. Absolutely loved it. Loved all the aspects of it. I loved not being able to compare myself to my half marathon time, my marathon times, the paces that I was running on the road. There was no comparison at all. And after that, I started looking for what is next. What next trail run ultra am I going to do? I found a backyard ultra. It was their first year doing it, about 3 hours away from me in North Dakota. And it intrigued me because I had seen a couple other runners on Instagram talking about backyard ultras. Not a lot. It has definitely increased in popularity over the past year, I would say. And the person that really introduced me to the backyard ultra for the first time is going to be a guest on here. I'm so excited for that. But I will disclose his name later. I was intrigued by it and I started doing research and I had so many questions, and it's like that sense of like something new that the human species just absolutely loves. Since getting into looking into more ultra running, trail running, I heard about the dreaded DNF. And to me, it's comparable to hearing about hitting the wall at mile 20 of a marathon. As soon as a runner hears that from someone else, they automatically assume, or most do, that they're going to do the same, and they dread it. And it's one thing that they fixate on. And that was one thing I was fixated on. So I could feel the performance-based perfectionism creeping back in and asking, like, what if I can't finish a 50-miler? What if I can't finish a 100-miler? Like, what happens if I have to quit? Like, what happens if I get a DNF? And so the easiest thing for me was to sign up for a backyard ultra when a DNF was almost guaranteed unless you go the furthest. But I wanted to get that first DNF out of the way. When I was training for my 3rd marathon, trying to PR, I had a half marathon 4 or 5 weeks out from race day that I really wanted to race. I had won it the last 2 years. I had this unintended win streak of half marathons over the past year and a half. And it was an expectation that was kind of internalized from me, from others, that I was going to win. I was running each half marathon to PR and to do my best and to see how I could do compared to the last half marathon that I had ran. But it just so happened that I was also winning them. And I made the decision for that half marathon to like purposefully not PR, purposefully hold back, let other females run in front of me, and to have fun and focus on my marathon. Lo and behold, I actually ran a PR in that race, and it was the most fun that I've had because I had zero pressure on me. I was having fun, and I remind myself of that race every time, like, since it's happened. In this transition of a different season of running and reminding myself that running is fun and I don't need to compare myself to who I was previously or these times. So I looked at the backyard as a similar way to remove that pressure of performance of I'm just going to get my first DNF out of the way. I'm going to sign up for this backyard ultra. I'm going to see how far I can run and how long I can go. But I'm expecting a DNF because I want that one to get out of the way. Now, that's not how I approach every backyard now going forward, but I wanted that first DNF out of the way so I didn't feel the pressure of running multiple ultras and then just thinking like, what happens if I DNF this race or the next one or whatever. So all of the questions, all of the research, that's where this podcast comes in. There are hundreds of running podcasts out there, smaller percentage of ultra running podcasts. I have a ton that I absolutely love to listen to. I've learned a wealth of information from. I have my ultra running certification as well as like a host of other run coach certifications. But I think it's hard to find one source, focus on the backyard ultra format. Like, there are similarities with training of ultra running in general, marathon training, the grit, the mental performance side of it. But there are also some things of the backyard ultra that are unique. There are hundreds of questions that will come up during your training, and I want this podcast to be the one-stop shop for you. The physical aspect doesn't need to be extreme, the physical training. The format is very approachable. It can be an introduction to trail running. It's a great way to get your longest long run in. Like if you've ran a half marathon and you haven't run anything over 13.1 miles, if you go out for 4 yards in the backyard, you're at 16 miles. Or maybe an introduction to ultras. Maybe you want to get your first 50K in and you want to use the ultra or the backyard ultra format to do that. Like if you don't have someone to support you, someone to crew you in an ultra, maybe this is your way because you are getting back to your gear every hour. And the same goes for time races. However long the loop is, like you're getting back to your gear and you don't necessarily need a crew to be successful. That was another selling point for me for the backyard was I don't need anyone to crew for me. I don't need anyone to take off a weekend or work or whatever to support this running aspect. Like I can go do this by myself without being worried about being held back because I don't necessarily have that crew with me for these races. I want to provide practical training tips and advice from experts on pacing plans, nutrition, the ability to keep going when you're tired, when it gets dark out, running through the night, running through the pain from blisters or chafing, etc. But most of all, I really want to help with the mental aspect of going one more when you don't have a set finish line. Most minds give up before the body is done. Like your mind, when your mind says you are done, your body is struggling to run. You start walking, you start cramping, you start stiffening up. You're like, your body hears what your mind is saying. And when you have decided that you're done, it's hard to get out of that. So how do we get out of that? How do we flip that switch the first time that we have the thought of, maybe I should just DNF. Maybe I should just walk this in slow. How do you keep going when your mind says you're tired, you're cold, you're bored? Like, I don't want to keep doing this. I've been out here for 16 hours already. It's the middle of the night. My bed sounds like a good idea. My chair in my tent sounds like a good idea. How do you keep going when you could just quit? Why not just take the DNF? How do you get out of that thinking? That's a big part of this podcast. I've ran 4 backyard ultras since last summer, the summer of 2024, and I have my 5th coming up in less than 2 weeks from when I'm recording this. So October 2025 is going to be my 5th backyard ultra, and I'm in this with you. I'm testing my limits. I'm figuring out how to keep going one more. Hour after hour after hour, I'm constantly learning new things, and I want to share all those things with you. I want to share the resources with you. I want to share the training tips, the things that I'm experiencing in my own training, the things that I see my athletes doing in their training, things that are working for them, the things that aren't, but then also the tips and advice from the professionals, from the experts, right? So my main goal with this podcast is to bring you stories and strategies and conversations from runners, from race directors, from crew members, and from professionals like registered dietitians, race directors. Sorry, I said race directors. Mental performance psychologists, physical therapists, sleep specialists. I want to provide you with the most amount of information possible to help you keep going one more. One more hour, one more loop, one more minute, one more step. Okay? Like, let's just take it one step at a time. Don't get stuck in the chair. That's one thing that we're going to talk a lot about is do not quit in the chair. Always get up and start going one more. Backyard ultras aren't just races. They're tests of grit, patience, the ability to keep going when everything in you says stop. Who are you to the core as a person? What things do you need to work on or want to work on based on who you are in a backyard ultra at 3 a.m.? Episodes will drop weekly. There will be a mix of training tips, raw stories, practical tips, and expert advice. I will have some solo episodes with race recaps of my own and training tips from my own training, from my athletes' training tips that you can apply to your own training and test out. But there will be a large portion of the episodes that will have a guest on. Those guests, again, are going to be runners, race directors, crew members, and the professionals. If you have topic suggestions or guest recommendations, someone that you want to hear their story about or training tips and advice from, please let me know. I'd love to also hear your own stories of going one more. So please connect with me on Instagram at the One More Hour podcast. My personal Instagram is jackie.wilson.runs. Jackie is Jaci. And just let me know what your thoughts are. I would love to hear them. So thank you so much for joining in on the first episode of the One More Hour podcast. I'm so excited to have you here. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit follow or subscribe on your podcast platform so you don't miss the next yard. Share it with a runner who loves pushing their limits, and leave a quick review so we can help other runners find the show and keep going when they want to stop. Until next time, just go one more. Thanks for tuning in to One More Hour. If you enjoyed this episode, hit follow so you don't miss the next yard, and share it with a runner who loves pushing their limits. I'd love to hear your own stories of going one more. Connect with me on Instagram at the One More Hour podcast. And if you could leave a quick review, it'll help more runners find the show and keep going when they want to stop. Until next time, just go one more hour.